Hi, I'm Lizzie and thanks for watching. Today we are going to be learning how to make a sequin cake. I've got a 6-inch dummy cake here that I'm going to demonstrate on. So if you enjoy this, please do like and subscribe to the channel and you'll get the latest updates. So we'll get cracking. So sequin cakes, I absolutely love them. They look amazing on wedding cakes, either as one tier or the whole cake. They're just beautiful, and when they catch in the light, they are super sparkly. So I'm going to run through the things that you're going to need for it. You will need to have some dusts. I've got colour splash ones here. I've got pure gold and pearl shimmer. The colour of the gold dust is entirely up to you, and it will depend on the shade of gold that you want the cake to be underneath the sequins. So I like these two, and I'm also going to put, you can just about see that there, this is antique gold sparkle. I'm going to add a little bit of that in the mix as well. I've got a little bit of gold spray just to spray over so it lands like a very fine settling film over the top of it, just to give it an extra sparkle at the end. And I've got some, these are sparkling sugar crystals, and then I'm going to add these to my edible gold sequins. Now, this is after I've painted the cake. These gold sequins are quite expensive to buy, and for a cake this size I'm going to need 6 tubes of sequins. So it is quite a pricey way of doing sequin cakes, but it also I think is the most effective way. So if you're doing it for a wedding, then it's definitely worth it. If you're doing it just for yourself, you might find it a bit pricey. So you're also going to need a large paintbrush and some piping gel. Piping jelly, you can buy this online, it's clear. I'll just open it for you so you can see. It comes like that, looks a bit like jelly. Okay, you'll need that as well. And you'll also need to mix up with your dusts, dipping solution or rejuvenator, it can be called, and that is also available to buy online. So we'll get started. I've got my 6-inch cake iced. Now I will ice this the day before I do the sequins because I want to be able to touch the cake, move it round, not worry about leaving fingerprints in it. So I just want a nice clean set cake. So I'm going to make first my gold paint. I've got some pearl shimmer and some pure gold. You do want to have quite a bit of dust in this, so whoop, maybe not quite that much, but maybe about that, a little bit less maybe. You can always add more, but it's quite tricky to take it away. So I've got a decent amount of pearl, and then I've got my pure gold here that I'm gonna add in. So yeah, got about that much there. Now I'm gonna add my rejuvenator, or dipping solution, some call it, to it, and I do want it to be quite thin. I'm gonna do a couple of coats on my cake, so I don't want it to be too thick. So I'll show you the kind of consistency you're gonna need it to be. Okay, so I've got I'm just going to give it a little swirl around. I don't really want to put my brush in too soon because I don't want the brush to start to absorb the paint. So I've got this here. Now I'm going to give it a little mix. That still, I would say, is probably a little bit too thick. So I'm just going to add a little bit more of my dipping solution. Okay, that's probably about right. I'm going to start, I think I'm going to use this slightly smaller brush. I was going to use the bigger one, but I think I'm going to use this one. I'm going to start by just literally pasting some on top. Now, don't worry about how it looks for this first layer, or sometimes the first 2 layers, because you are going to put more layers on, and I'm just going to let that start going around, dripping down the edge. And you're just going to keep working over, getting it all over the top. And then you're going to start to work around. Sometimes if you pour quite a lot on the top, it will start to drip around the sides, which is absolutely fine. You just, with your paintbrush, keep on working round. You can see here. You want to just keep on working round and round the cake. And don't worry about the streak lines or any of that, because you are going to blend those and put a few more layers on until you get it exactly how you want it. And if you think it's starting to dry, because this does dry quite quickly, just keep brushing over with your brush. And I'm doing this on kitchen towel as well, as opposed to just straight on my board, so I can move the cake around quite easily. If you get a bit that starts to go a bit clumpy, like you can see this here, in a minute I'm going to get a clean dry brush and just buff that off. So don't worry about that. Okay, so I've got my first layer on and it does look still a bit of a mess, but that is absolutely fine. I've added a little bit more of the dipping solution to my dusts and it does dry really fast, so already I'm almost touch dry, so I can put my next layer on. So I'm just gonna literally pour some on here, move it around, let it drip down the sides and just keep on working with your brush. So keep on moving around, keep on working it. And remember, this is the underneath of from your sequins, so you're not going to see all of this anyway, but you still want to have a nice gold base. Okay, so I've nearly got all my second layer on here, and you can see it's starting to take on a slightly thicker sheen. It's not quite as transparent as the first time round. Okay, so my second layer is now all on, and it is worth saying that there was a bit clumpy, so I just got a clean brush, obviously not one that I use for makeup, and I just buffed over wherever it was a little bit clumpy, and that gets rid of the little bits that can look a bit grainy. So it looks quite good now for my gold layer, but I do like to do a third layer because I like to have a nice thick covering. So I'm actually just gonna do that. I've added a little bit more gold dust and a little bit more rejuvenator to my mix as well, just because I needed a little bit more. So I'm just going to put my third layer on now and just add a bit more on wherever you think might need a bit more. And I can see now I am starting to get some little clumps, so I'm just going to get my blusher brush and just buff those off. So I have got my third layer on now, and I'm quite pleased with the coverage of the gold. I've buffed out any bits that look like a bit like clumpy dust with my blusher brush, and I'm ready for the sequins. So first of all, I'm gonna put all my sequins into a bowl. Now, these sequins, they are attracted to your hands like no one's business, and especially if your hands are wet. So make sure you've got clean, dry hands when you do this. Because these are expensive, you can add a little bit of these clear crystals, and that they will just mix in with your sequins nicely and just bulk them out a little bit. So I've got a little bit of that in. So I've got my piping jelly here and my paintbrush, and now I'm going to do this in sections. So I'm going to bring my cake to the edge of my board here, and I'm just going to paint on my piping gel. And I'll probably do it in 4 or 5 sections. Okay, so I've got my first section on there. And you can see how the gold paint has stayed on underneath. Now, this is the quite messy bit. So you want to have your cake directly over your sequins. On the edge, try and peel that back a bit. And you want to get a handful of your sequins and just work your way up the cake. You see? And as you can see, the sequins want to go everywhere. And so don't worry if you haven't covered every single tiny speck of the cake. It looks quite nice if not every single tiny bit is covered, because they just sparkle. So I'm going to work my way around and just brush off any that are left on there. So I'm just going to move that to the side. Make sure your surface is clean before you do this, obviously. They're quite fly away as well, and then I'm going to scoop up and pop those back in there. Okay, now I'm going to do my next section. I'm going to do around this bit with my piping gel. So just meet where you've ended and brush the next section. Okay, and once again, cake on the edge so any excess sequins can fall straight back in your bowl. some sequins in your hand and straight up. Okay, so I'm just going to have a little clean up and then brush the piping gel on the next section. Okay, so I am now on my last section and I'm just going to paint on my last bit of piping gel that I want, just meet the two, marry them with some piping gel and then get the last of my sequins on. And you can see I haven't got masses of sequins left, so 6 tubes and a little bit of the sparkling clear sugar is just about right for a 6-inch cake. Now I'm just going round and seeing if there's anywhere that looks a bit too gappy and if I need to fill it in at all. So there's a little bit at the top here. I don't mind a couple of little spaces, but I don't want big holes. Okay, so once you're happy with how it looks all the way around, I would advise having a little clear up, because the next thing you're going to do is spray, to finish it off, spray a little bit of sparkle over it. But I would clear up all your sequins first and give your hands a wash. So I've had a clear up now and I have de-golded myself, thankfully. So I've popped the cake on a cake stand here for you, so you can see it nicely without the kitchen roll underneath. And I actually think it looks absolutely gorgeous. And it can be, I will probably use this as a top tier of a wedding cake. It's just gorgeous. But I think something you can do just to finish it off is put a tiny bit of gold spray over it as well. And you need to be careful when you use these kind of dust sprays. Let's give them a little shake. If you do it too close, you'll just get a big clob of gold. So you want to, I don't know if you can see that, go around. So it'll catch the cake and it'll make it just that bit. You have to shake it. And it gives it that bit of extra sparkle. And it'll catch on the sequins. So I don't know how well you'll be able to see it in this light, but me looking at it, I can see how much more sparkly it is, and it's really nice. So yeah, thank you for watching. I really hope you enjoyed how to sequin a cake. And if you did enjoy it, please do like and subscribe by clicking on the link. And I'll also put in the description box below all of the ingredients that I used and a quick how-to. Thanks, see you soon.